Howdy, it's Monday, and everybody knows what time it is on Monday Market 15, the 15-minute show that grossly is overweighted on time. Rob Marlos, RCO Network, here with my co-host. I'll figure out some other adjectives later. Mary, the seasonally inclined Miss Ashley Perkins.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, boy, she's got a little bit of a frog in her mouth.
I do have a little bit of a frog.
Do I want to know where this frog came from?
I think it's going around. I think everyone kind of has it. I
don't have a frog.
Well,
I don't even have a dog.
I'm sorry, you don't have a frog.
But you have a cat.
We do have a new cat.
You have a cat in the hat. Anyway, we're back here on Monday talking about the Phoenix housing market like we normally do almost every Monday. Last Monday we kind of took a day off. I mean, I had some.
We had a charity event, and there was a lot going on.
We had a great event Thursday.
Right, it was fun.
You partied up. We had lots of pictures of Ashley dancing on the table. So if you weren't here to enjoy that,
oh stop! I was not dancing on the table.
Mr. Duff had a good time.
I was sitting on the table taking photos.
Well,
okay, on that note.
You take photos, whatever. But we're here talking about the Phoenix housing market. It is the season to be jolly, but also to get ready for 2023. Are you ready for this?
I think that 2023 is going to be freaking awesome because it has to be better than 2022.
Possibly. I don't know. I had a pretty good 2022 though.
It was such an interesting year that I think there were so many ebbs and flows with it that I don't know. It's like it was great. It was really awesome. Then there was like some non-awesome parts, and like how do you balance it?
I'll say there's a lot of
like our market,
transitional time. Yeah. But we're here to talk about. Did you bring your fortune telling vibe? We tried to get a tarot card reader on here.
We did,
and they totally booked out on me. I was trying to get like somebody to come in here and give a prediction like based on tarot cards or something, just something funny, but failed miserably. But we're here talking about numbers.
You couldn't find anybody with a crystal ball, so.
Absolutely not. So we got on Redfin, and Redfin is basically gave their housing market predictions. So there's a lot of things I took into account in providing the Phoenix kind of based ones. Mm-hmm. And Ashley kind of let me take over this one,
Only because I barely have a voice. That's why.
I'm
not giving you reins.
Because normally she would be talking a lot.
Right.
So I did take Redfin's housing predictions, and I kind of broke them up into Phoenix and kind of took some things into account. I'm scrolling down because I'm going down to the first one. So the first one, way past it.
Whoa, slow down.
I know. I'm getting a little anxious with my hands here. Prediction when housing sales will fall to the lowest level since 2011. So that got me actually thinking a little bit. Where our housing numbers are. Our mortgage rates right now.
Scary.
Let's go. I'll just start.
They're scary for most, but
I'll start with this slide right here.
Okay.
So I pulled this up from Cromford Report. Mm-hmm. So basically, I want to say our peak was June of 2006 based on this chart, and we dropped. And you can see we dropped about 60% from peak to trough in 2011. Around October 2011 was that kind of bottoming out. Right. But the interesting parts that I want you to note is like that peak, that 2006 peak was kind of like sustained over time. Look, it took a couple years at that sustained level of median price before it took this nosedive in 2008, all the way down to 2011, 60%.
Yeah, we had exactly, and then we just had this big trajectory.
Yeah, and I'd say the end of that trough was, it took a couple years, but the end of that trough was October of 2011. And we went on this kind of very steady slope of increase over the next relatively 10 years. So, I did take that into account. And then we had this big spike of COVID.
Right, yeah.
So if you're looking solely at this and kind of looking at predictions per se, you're looking at from peak to trough in 2024, based on time frame, based on that peak and that same percentage, we're looking at a housing market decline in November 2024 of 202,000.
Well,
that's crazy, isn't it?
It's not though, in a sense, because think about it, it's always a 7 to 10 year cycle.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't always say always, but I mean, there is, and this was pretty predictable.
Yeah, I'm here.
We were in a space that was way too good to be true.
even back then.
Yeah, I mean, it constantly has to change. Like, the only constant is change. And they say, like, every 7 years, we did wait 10 years to finally go back down and kind of go back to where we were in 2008.
Yeah, you can almost see like this. It's almost like a double bottom here, and it kind of just goes forward. But
I think that 2011 it was kind of tricky because that was when we had 9/11 and that I think that was a huge factor of why we see a few things going on right there.
Some hesitation. There too.
Right, correct. And then after that, we kind of all rebuilt, and here we are a decade later, and we're like, oh, interest rates are 2.5, housing is going up, like this is phenomenal, and they're like, just kidding. We're at our 10-year mark. Here we go.
But yeah, it was the things I want to know, and the things that kind of caught my attention were just sustained kind of pricing right here for a couple years, and then just when we had the big recession, just kind of completely collapse down. And again, a couple years of just mucky, troughy, kind of like looking at the market. The market was not in a good place, and then. What was that, about 2 years after that decline, you see kind of a starting and positive trajectory. And if you look, so I wanted to point that out because it's a little bit different than today. So today we had an extreme spike, and now you have an extreme almost decline, which is different than that kind of lofty, kind of like sustained period of pricing, and then complete drop, and then we had the sustained kind of trough.
Right, that drop lasted a year or so. Like ours was just pretty much we woke up the next day.
Yeah. So if you're basing solely off the last recession, 60% loss. And if you look at from peak to potential trough, 2002, 202,000 is our median sales price at that time. So we could see declines of 60% over the next 2 years. Could. I don't know. We're just predicting.
I don't think we will, honestly.
But this kind of goes along with what Redfin is saying.
Yeah. Well, Redfin's in quite a pickle themselves, so I don't know.
Do you dare say?
So,
what kind of prediction?
How are we supposed to believe somebody that's already put themselves in an economic downturn?
Well, they do have to let some their agents go and stuff. So I did look at the current mortgage rates. So what caught my interest with mortgage rates? Excuse me. Right now we're at about a 6.4, so roughly about 6.5, just to make easy kind of go of things. I got out of Succession. Okay, so mortgage rates back at our peak in the last recession. Mortgage rates were about 6.6%.
So funny.
So we're relatively back to where we were in 2006.
That's when I started actually in mortgages. Was August of 2006 when interest rates that's where they were.
Yeah. And then if you look at the trough was at 4.7. So they had to let me get your face out of there. So October.
Take my face out of there. Take my face off of it. I feel like crap. I feel like I look like crap.
Oh,
you
stop
just
it.
delete me from all of this, please.
Well, they don't want to just look at me though. So if you look at our trough at the very bottom, I took that October 2011. We're at 4.07. So predicting the future, we could end up at a 4% rate, but it's going to be closer to that November 2024 date.
Yeah.
So
18 months later.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really start. I guess I should have left the other ones out.
Well,
but we're roughly about 5% to about 4% in 2011.
Well, this is just kind of from my observation from going from being in mortgages in 2006 till 2010, and then went into marketing and all of that is once we see the interest rates start to increase and the housing prices kind of fluctuate, we're looking at a minimum of 18 months of kind of the unknown.
Yeah, and that's what everything's kind of looking at. The only thing, again, going back to that observation, we before we had sustained growth, complete drop, and then sustained just kind of troughiness. Yeah. And then now we had a significant spike in pricing, and now we're seeing the significant decline. So whatever it was before, if it's going to be the same, it's very, very different in the way it's reacting.
Yeah.
So it's almost an immediate reaction. So I think we'll end up not necessarily in that 2.5 year kind of span, but maybe half of that.
Well, right, like you said, the end of 2020. Well, 2024.
November 2024 could be potentially.
I don't know.
This is just a prediction.
November 2024.
So if you're waiting for that housing bottom. That may be your time. But I mean, if you're looking at renting, if you're a renter right now and you feel that you're just wasting your money in a rental. I mean, it's going to be a while before you really see the bottom potentially. I keep saying potentially because I don't really know when.
Potentially.
I mean, who knows? Who knows what?
I think though that we are so wrapped up in these quote unquote predictions and what is anticipated to happen. And you guys listen to us, you pay attention to what we're saying. You probably watch other things, you read articles and all this, but right now where we're at in this market, the end of 2022, I think it's a fabulous time to consider buying and selling. But I always say that because if you are buying or selling a home for the long run, for the you're going to buy it for your family for the next 7 years, or you're going to sell and move out of state, like this is a great time.
Yeah.
I mean, what are people doing right now? Like
Christmas shopping.
they are, but like again, I'm gonna echo myself from I think 2 podcasts ago. Like people are in town, our homes are warm and cozy. We're getting out of the cold, and we can create these experiences and this atmosphere for buyers who are in town. I mean, just stop thinking about the interest rates. Stop thinking about, snowbirds are used to this shit. Like they've been through this. They had interest rates back in 1982 at like 18%. Like this is not bad for them. They're out here for the experience. And if we create that, we work with a great agent that can take awesome like photos and videos, almost like your own little holiday Christmas movie of your home. And, Colby and I, my 12-year-old and I, we went on Sunday, we went to the driving range, and on our way home, he's like, Mom, there's an open house. This kid loves real estate. Totally not my fault. His dad is a lender too. So like, I think he just kind of grew up in this world, like of
he's got
real estate.
mortgage in his blood.
He's like mortgage, real estate, marketing in his blood. So we stopped in this house and we're walking through and he's like, this house has some potential, He's going through the backyard and he's like, it smells like, okay, they probably could have had like a better candle. Maybe it smelled like more Christmassy in here. And he's giving me all this, like he's telling me all the advice he'd like to give to the real estate agent. So he proceeds to tell the agent that is, hosting the open house. And he's like, you could have like made it. And it was just the cutest thing ever. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like rubbing off on this kid. Like he literally is. And he goes, so what's the price? And the guy said, I don't know, it was like $520 or something. He goes, well, this house is smaller than our house, and it's like got a smaller backyard and a pool, and it doesn't really smell good. And he's saying all these go. He's like, I don't think you're gonna get that much for it. Like, and it was hilarious because like I have trained him. Like he's been my baby. Like he's always been the kid that I take everywhere with me. But he, even at 12 years old, he recognized it's holiday time. When you walk into people's houses, you smell whether like you're a sugar cookie candle person, a fir type person for like Christmas tree smell or whatever that may be, they know that. Like you create that, and and that's so much, a huge deal.
And so much of selling is selling an emotion. It's not even really selling the house. If you update certain cabinets, if you update the floor, that's fine. But if it doesn't feel like home, it's not going to feel like home. They're not going to connect with it. And that's why, like at open houses, I allow people to kind of roam and feel around because I want them to feel immersed in the experience. Because the more they feel immersed, the more they're going to feel connected.
Yeah.
So that is more of the sale than me saying whatever, telling them about the drawers or telling them about the upgrades.
I mean, we all like soft close cabinets, but creating that like that clean and cozy. And that's another thing too, is like, I love the holidays, but you can't vomit the holiday on your house. Like we don't need all of like the big, huge blow ups, like Snoopy riding, or on top of his house.
Do you have a blow up?
No, we haven't even put up lights in the front of the house yet. But like clean, crisp lights, like maybe some snowflakes. Like we're in Arizona, like. But I do have 2 Christmas trees. One is a traditional family tree. Yeah. That's all of our ornaments, and another one is like kind of like my decorative tree, and then our stockings. But it doesn't look like Christmas vomited in our house because you could have people from other religions. Yeah. But it's more or less like the smell. Like when people come into our home, they're like, it smells like winter, like Christmas time, like holidays. Yeah. And it's literally a $5 candle from I think Walmart. It's from Five and Below actually.
So some tips if you're selling out there, but as we see prices falling, you're going to have to come up with some of these things that some creative ideas to connect with that. And again, if you over Christmas it, there's not a lot of people that are Christmas people. I'm not entirely a Christmas person, but I do enjoy the kind of like the moment.
That surprises me.
Why?
Well, I don't know.
You thought I was a Christmas person?
I just kind of would have assumed so.
Oh.
Because you don't ever talk about.
Hey, you know what they say about assume?
Assumptions.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
So as we're going back, looking at that trajectory, that slide we talked about at the beginning, that regression back into that 60% reduction in pricing based on the last recession that we had, puts us at about 202,000 in median price of homes. Right now, we're currently about 480. Which is a significant drop. So what I did is I kind of expanded on that a little bit further. So if you look at a mortgage loan, so a price of a home at 202,000, 40%. Why did I put 20% down?
I don't think anybody's doing 20% these days.
I screwed up. That was my screw up. But roughly, okay. So you did put 20% down. I can't. This is a stagnant slide. I wish I could do that.
Oh,
but it puts you at about a $1,200 payment, which is also, if you expand a little bit more further, a $202,000 home gets you about $1,200 to $1,300 payment. The median price of home or the household income is about $60,000. I think it's probably roughly about the same. Household income really doesn't change a whole lot over time.
Right.
So if you expand on that a little bit more, you're looking at a mortgage making $61,000 a year of $221,000, which is affordable, which is what is meant for this market. So does it make sense that we have a 60% regression rate? Possibly. I mean, it's amazing what the numbers will show. If you look at that chart, that regression rate, that 60% seems large, and I had to double check the math.
Yeah.
But that puts us right in line with our median household income in Phoenix. So it makes sense that we would have that, especially if people are leaving and things change in our market. So there is some viability in that prediction that Redfin had in going back here, back over here. That housing market prices will fall to 2011. This kind of confirms that a little bit. So if you're ready, again, waiting for that trough, that low end of the market, it could be in that medium price point, that 200 to 210 price point, which is amazing.
2022 is a roller coaster. Like it literally has been. Like that's what I was in the beginning. Like 2022 was like a high, a low, a high, a low. It's like being on VR headset and you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna sit on the ground. Okay, now I'm gonna stand back.
Have you been on a VR? I hate those things, man. That's horrible.
We have 3 VRs in our house because I have 3 boys. Because you can play against each other like tennis and ping pong and all these different things. So I was doing the roller coaster the other day and I've tried like 3 times and I instantly get scared and I just like sit on the ground because like you're just so uncomfortable and unfamiliar. Yeah. I'm working on getting over that like feeling. Just like we need to work on getting over this. Yeah, not good. But we need to work on getting over our feeling of what this false reality or this reality that is so unpredictable. And it's like if you're ready to buy a house and you're prepared, then do it. Yeah. Just do it. It's all about timing, what's right for you and your family. Yeah, so roughly speaking, if you're following kind of the trends of mortgage rates, I would say mortgage rates are probably not going to deviate too much from this price, from this rate right now. 6.5 is roughly where it's going to be. I think the Fed is going to increase if they haven't already. I haven't watched. At the beginning of the year. Yeah, I mean, there was still a prediction where they were going to increase rates, the Fed rates, which are different than mortgage rates, about 0.5%. And that does affect mortgage rates, but relatively speaking, I don't think we're going to get much higher than we're at now. So as far as like planning and budgeting, if you're highly interested in rates, we're probably around the peak of rates at this point. Because if they go any further, if it's tremendously more than where it's at now, I think we're gonna. I don't think we'll hit over. I think we're in a kind of a crashing situation right now. We are. We're in like this like. We're in this space where you really have to hone in on exactly what you want in your budget, like really laying out your budget and working with your financial advisor, working with your lender, working with your real estate agent, and making sure that you're buying what you want. Nobody wants to have regret, but they also have to remember that years from now, you can always refinance. Rates are always going to go back down. And then they're going to go back down. And that's what I wanted to highlight in that other slide at the very beginning. If you're catching us in the middle, look at the beginning and rewind a little bit. You'll see like a trough or interest rate of around 4%. Right. So like the last 2 years being at like 2% rates, 2 to 3% rates is really unheard of. Right. And it really stimulated growth. And that's what caused that spike. But now we're seeing that significant decline. Do you have that calculator by any chance where it shows, okay, so if you bought your house at 2.5%, when homes were priced at like $550 versus like now they've dropped down to what, $480, but they're at 6.5%.
Are we looking at the anticipated
Well,
rates?
well, I wanted to show people like when interest rates were at 2.5%, right? Yeah, 2.5, and then do 550, which I believe, or was it 520, was our average home price.
This is completely unplanned.
No, I know, but this is it's actually intriguing. Do 520. I think that was like our average or whatever. No, like let's do like I don't know what an average 5% exactly. Okay, 3-year fix. That's the average interest rate for most people buying a home. All right, so that price. So what does that say?
That's $2,900. So $3,000 a month.
Okay, so it's $3,000. Now switch the numbers. Take that to 6.5%.
I don't want to.
And then put that at 480. Put that at 480.
Where am I? Oh, yeah.
The home price.
Oh, 480 home price. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going with it. 3818. $3,800.
So it's $800 more. So yeah, that just get your credit score up. Because watch, switch your credit score real quick.
Oh, boy.
Go to higher credit score. Do like a
760. That's top tier.
No, nobody's really there. Like 740.
Well, I'm there. See, I don't think you get it until you get to the 760. Oh, maybe not. Maybe.
It's not calculating correctly.
This isn't a great
I mean,
mortgage
okay.
calculator. This mortgage calculator sucks.
It's sorry.
Doesn't give you top tier pricing.
But it just you really have to understand, like, if home prices are going down, interest rates are going up, like where's your balance and where's your comfortability in your home payment? So stop looking at the home price, stop looking at the interest rate, and look at what you can actually feel comfortable affording and that fits your family.
Well, and that's why real estate is all personal. It really just depends on what your situation is, what your tolerance level are. Because if you're a very risky person, you're probably going for that larger mortgage payment, hoping that in that year to 2 years you can refinance at 4%.
Well, and don't let, like, during the holidays, what do we all do? Sit around like, hey, Bob, you know, your father-in-law. So you bought this house. Like, what's your interest rate? Oh, that's funny. Rob. That was not intentional, by the way. But he's like, oh, well, back in my day. Like, don't let anybody sit around the table right now, because we have all of our crazy-ass family in, and brothers-in-laws and sisters-in-laws and father-in-laws and mother-in-laws who are so judgy of all this bullshit. Like, don't let anybody change your perspective on what you want to do. You individually, if you're single or if you're married, that's a conversation for you and your spouse, or you and your partner. Don't let the holidays and all that noise like distract you. So if you want to go out and look at holiday lights and you happen to see this beautiful house and it has a for sale sign in it, go inside. Don't let father-in-law be like, oh, well, you know, be Mr. Scrooge. Like, make a decision for yourself.
And don't talk about politics. That's another thing at the family dinner you don't want to talk about. So the last chart I wanted to talk about, because we tend to go on rants, is the median sales price trajectory. So what I did is a little bit different. So I took the same chart that we took before. And so this is kind of a different predictable kind of thing, or at least a different prediction that I have. So before we were looking at the regression rate based off the last crash. This one we're looking at the average trajectory and pricing over the last like 10 years. And you can see that we're in a channel here. There's a whole channel in which pricing was elevating in starting in 2011 and blowing up basically in 2020. And so you saw that spike come up and you see this spike come back down. If you follow that average trend, we're looking at a smaller peak, right? Or a smaller trough. And we're looking at a median price at $380 in November of 2024.
I don't like that.
Or a year and 6 months. 2023. I think I did my math wrong. So, okay, a year from now, plus 6 months is June of 2024. So we might see a bottom based on this kind of spike trajectory thing that's going on here, and going back to our average pricing increase or channel basically in a shorter amount of time for a larger purchase price.
I think we also have to be very cognizant of the neighborhood we live in, like the upcoming neighborhoods or the neighborhoods that are flipping. like homes that are built in like the 60s, 70s, or like or even early 80s, they may have a different trajectory versus like the new builds. They spend a lot of lumber. Like
this is a little bit more positive. This is not a 60% regression. This is more like a 20%. But it's prices are coming down. Needless to say, I mean the predictions are prices are coming down. It's I think the question that people have, and you guys can ask them. You can give whatever your 2 cents to. Ask whatever questions you want, but everybody's waiting for that bottom, and when is it going to happen? But I would also say too that don't wait too long because you just don't know when that's going to be. So if it makes sense to you at the time, it makes sense to you, and there's always an opportunity for interest rates to come down, and there's always an opportunity. Period out there for selling and buying. But if you're selling right now, the thing you have to really take heed and know is that the prices are coming down. There's just every number and everything. Basically, everybody is saying that they are, and then the charts are showing you.
Yeah, they are for sure.
So, anything good in the housing predictions that are coming? Anything good from you guys? I know there's people watching.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Oh shoot, I don't even have my computer on to see what people are saying.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
sorry. I've been kind of.
Well, nobody's saying anything right now.
I've been in a little bit of a la land with my brain.
I will say just to kind of give some other inputs. Let me go back here. So if you're looking at housing supply, we're at about 3.5 months. We're kind of at this weird like stopping point. It just kind of came up here. What I do see on ground level are people pulling their houses off the market. They're not getting what they're getting, and so they're going to wait. If you're trying to sell right now, it's like just cut the price and go. But if you have the time and you want to rent it out, one thing about renting is that I think rental prices are coming down too.
And they are coming down.
And I see that on the ground too. I see rental prices coming down.
I'm going to bring up Colby again.
Oh,
and I'm only bringing this up because you said something is, after we went to that open house, there was a house down the street and had really pretty Christmas lights. And there's not very many 2-stories like in our neighborhood because we're an old school like area. Like we have all old John F. Long homes. But at that time, like you could build a 2-story. He's like, well, let's just knock on the door. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, let's just knock on the door and ask them if we can walk through their house. And I'm thinking if a 12-year-old is confident enough to knock on somebody's door and ask them to walk through the house, if there is a house that you love and you're attracted to it and it's in the neighborhood you desire, knock on the door. What are they going to say? No?
It sounds like dating.
Well,
son, if you see a girl you love, just go up there and ask her.
Just
fine.
go up there and ask her. But
what is she going to say? No?
It's understanding like your wants and your needs. That is the biggest thing. And there are a lot of people that shockingly would be willing to consider selling their home before they even have it on the market. Like our neighbor passed away and her daughter, like they just did the estate sale and everything. And I've talked about this before because it's taken them forever to do this. And I finally I'm like, okay, I want to know. But just being more curious and intrigued if it's something you really want. It's almost like it becomes like a part-time job, but it'll be in my opinion, it's worth it.
Yeah. And I will say the one thing that whether it's a prediction or not, just to communicate and talk to people that you trust. The hardest part right now, especially in this industry, are agents, lenders, everybody else trying to tell you that it's a good time to buy. Oh, I want to sell. Oh, it's a great time to sell. It's kind of both and kind of neither.
It's your time. That's what time it is.
And it's like, it's all individual, Yeah. And so one of the things that you have to realize, if you're going to sell your house right now, it's probably going to be at a significant discount and you're going to have some challenges and you're not in the receiving end of that, or I should say you're more on the giving side of that side of that transaction. And so right now, the next 6 months are a little bit fuzzy, but I do know that inventory is probably going to increase at a substantial rate in January as people kind of fear that long-term recession. It's going to be investors more than anything else from what I'm seeing. I'd say the biggest thing to pay attention to is week 3 of January.
Always
week 3 of January, seeing where listing numbers are. And that chart I just showed you was in there. Right now, the market, I'll kind of wrap up with this because we always go back to the dashboard, right? So right now, supply is still low. Green does not mean good; it just means low. Red is oversupply. It means we have too many houses, we can't sell And then on the demand side, demand is like just completely being obliterated. People are just completely pulling out. But the interesting part is that supplies is somewhat stable, based on the demand.
I just pulled this up. Currently, as of right now, it says that 70 new residents per day are moving to Arizona in the suburbs. So Goodyear grew 39%, Buckeye grew 68%, and Litchfield grew 35%. So that's interesting.
What's the source on that? Just so we could let people know, so they can investigate themselves.
That was, I don't know, it was the first thing that just popped up. Hold on.
It's not on the URL.
Oh, it's totally a hippie site. Like, you know me, I'm a hippie. It's called Move Buddha.
MoveBuddha.com.
Like Buddha, like the Buddha.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know how much like of a hippie I actually really am.
I do.
I know you do. Like,
she's from Cornville. You can't be any more hippie than that.
I'm like,
it's in the name of where she grew up.
Sedona at 60, like it was a few minutes away. Like 6.
I just love the name Cornville.
Cornville.
Because you're corny as shit, but I appreciate you more than anything else. But anything else, Miss Perkins, before we wrap up? Because that's been my predictions. I mean, lots of pricing action going on there. But I think really what people want to know is like where the bottom is, when it's going to happen. It's going to happen not relatively close or relatively soon, but it will happen based on numbers.
Fact.
If you got your frog ready, Ashley will be taking numbers. Something like that. But anyway, we're here every Monday talking about the Phoenix housing market. Ashley Perkins, thank you so much. We have just a couple more weeks before the end of the year. Merry Christmas to those we don't really connect with or talk to on a regular basis. Can't wait for next week's. Happy holidays. We still have 2 more shows, right?
Feliz Navidad.
We might be coming back with more.
Next week?
Yeah, I'm trying to get a tarot card reader to tell us a little bit more about the market.
We've been working on.
Still working on that. But we'll catch you guys next week.
See you.